morning. Good morning. Hey, there's more of you than there was last time I turned around. I have three things I need to tell you before we drop into the rest of what we're doing here. One is that I just want to let you know that September rounded out my first year as your senior minister at the center. I don't know how we spun all the way around the planet already, but we did, or the solar system, or however that works. And then let you know that the board has offered me a 2-year contract extended instead of one, so we're going to do this for a while. The next thing I need to tell you is that next Sunday after service, we have a meeting of the membership. If you remember, the Board of Trustees is asking us to expand the size of our board, and we just need your yes on that. So we're going to have a short meeting after service next week. If you're a member here, do stay for a few minutes after service so we can do that. And whatever the third thing was I thought I was going to tell you, will come around later. So take a deep breath in and let go. Another breath in, let it go. One more of those together, breathe in, and we let it go. So as most of you know, 2022 has been our year of inner and outer permaculture. And we've been exploring the principles of regenerative agriculture as described by one of the teachers in this field. And we've used each month to explore these different principles of looking at how to create sustainable and thriving lives, not only for ourselves, but for the planet and for our communities. And so now, as we're stepping into fall, the first half of fall, we're going to be calling our season of harvest. And this month, the principle we're going to be exploring all of, what is this, October, is going to be obtaining a yield. You must obtain a yield. And so, we've been exploring all of these different principles all year as far as looking at our regenerative resources, looking at valuing diversity, looking at the patterns, the details, looking at all of these different ways of doing and being, and they all kind of lead up to, is it productive? Right? Are you seeing the results of the work that you're doing, the shifts that you're making in your life or in your consciousness or in the landscape? Do you see that what we are creating is an opportunity for more thriving, right? An opportunity for greater good for ourselves and for everyone else. And as we talk about this idea of obtaining a yield or seeing the results or harvesting the fruits of our labors, so to speak, I want us to really first think about this idea that we've all grown up in a world where agriculture or monoculture, right? We grow things in rows, big fields of thousands of one thing, and we have this appearance of abundance. We have this appearance of there's lots and lots and lots. We're producing so much. And yet, underneath all of that is actually a system that's creating more and more scarcity, right? We have this sense of false abundance or false prosperity in the West, in our culture. And so much of it is the instant gratification of you just want to get. Order your 24-hour shipping from Amazon to get whatever that thing is, right? And we think that that's prosperity, when really that is exploitation, perhaps. It's participating in systems that are actually taking away from others so that we can have more. And in order for us to redesign our thinking and redesign the way that we do things, we need to redefine prosperity. We need to redefine abundance to being about participating in the cycles of nature and recognizing that the seasons ebb and flow and provide us what we need when we need it. And that nature is designed to thrive. Forests are designed to be deeply abundant and prosperous for all the things that live there. But no one part of the forest gets to take more than any other so that the whole ecosystem can thrive. Right? And if we're looking at redesigning our lives and doing everything differently and gardening differently and thinking differently and using our resources differently, then hopefully at some point we notice that things are starting to change, right? That the systems that we are involved in, that the experiences that we're having, that what we are harvesting starts to become noticeably more. That we suddenly feel like we have an overflow, like there's enough to share, right? Because whatever we harvest, whatever is the fruit of whatever we're doing, is going to be an indication of the health of the soil or the field or the seeds that we planted, right? And for us, that's the thoughts we have in our mind, the beliefs we exist in, the participation we give to the world. And so for each one of us to look at our own lives, to look at this community, to look at the world we live in, and look at what's being harvested, look at what's showing up, and then ask ourselves about the health of the field. Ask ourselves about the health of our mind. You know, if you've ever grown a garden and you think you plant certain seeds and those things grow up, but oftentimes all kinds of other stuff grows up too, right? There might be weeds, there might be seeds that have floated in from somewhere else, or maybe someone snuck in and planted something in your garden when you weren't looking, right? And that happens in our own lives, right? There's all of this stuff that's manifesting, that's growing, that's demonstrating, that's here for us, and yet we have to ask ourselves, are we really truly thriving? Or are we propped up on a system that makes us think that we are thriving, when actually we're consistently lacking, and we try to fill in the joy and happiness with the stuff, right? And our society tells us that if you have all the stuff, you're prosperous, when really true prosperity and abundance is a state of being, right? And it's redefining what that means for us to recognize that true thriving is about living in harmony. That true thriving is about being in a deep state of peace, right? And we all have our spiritual practices or the things that we do to tune our minds and hold our attention where we want it to be. And we are hopefully going to see the results of that, right? If you meditate daily, 2 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, an hour a day, maybe 10 hours a day if you're a professional Zazen person. But that practice is eventually going to pay off. It will change the structuring, the thinking, the processes that happen in your brain are changed over time by that. And so that's the harvest that you want to see, right? If you're asking for peace, if you're asking for wholeness, if you're asking for healing in your spiritual work, hopefully, you're going to see the demonstration of that. You're going to feel the peace in the midst of turbulence. You'll feel your wholeness in the midst of sickness. You will, whatever it is, find the love that you're looking for. And if it's not showing up, then we have to take a look back and figure out what all else is being planted in our field, what nutrients are missing from the soil that's not allowing our good to show up in our lives. What are we doing to hold it back or not feed it the way that it needs in order to really show up for us, right? And you know, in science of mind and metaphysics and new thought and a lot of these traditions, you know, we talk a lot about the power of manifestation, about the power of demonstration, that what we think about comes about. When we focus on something, it should grow. When we place an intention, it should show up in the world. It's when we see what we are harvesting, when the fruits of our mental labors show up in the world, that feedback loop should be the thing that inspires us and gets us excited to realize that there are deep powers and truths at work in our life. And that when we activate them, when we start to think and be and act in a new way, things should shift and change, right? And if you're coming here and you've been here for 50 years and nothing has changed in your life, that's sad. It's like you might want to look at that. You know, maybe there's some work you have to do. You might need to do some composting of some stuff. You know, but once you do and all that stuff breaks down, that becomes the nutrients that allows you to become who you're meant to be, right? And so we have to look at the garden of our lives or the field of our minds and really look at what's growing here. What's showing up in my awareness and in my life? Because what you experience in your life is the harvest of the seeds you are planting with your thoughts. Your thoughts are seeds. Your life is the field in which those seeds will grow. Right? And so we can take this either direction. It's like, look at what's currently growing and then do some assessment backwards and figure out where the weeding needs to happen, where the compost needs to happen, where you can take the stuff that's not serving and turn it into something that will serve you so that you have the energy to grow what you need. Or look forward and say, I recognize that if I plant the seeds and I start to shift and change the way that I engage with my life, those things can be nurtured and will grow and become what they're meant to be. Right? And look at the field of our society. There's a whole lot of stuff growing in the field, but I wouldn't say that it's a bountiful harvest. We've got a lot of weeding to do, right? But all of that becomes compost. All of that becomes the stuff that builds up to become what we need it to be. And so we want to engage in our lives in this way that inspires and asks and invites all of us to really recognize that our nature, the nature of nature, is to thrive. And that when we think we know better, we might create the illusion of prosperity and abundance, but really underneath it's depleting us more and more and more, right? And that is the methodology of the world that we've lived in. We've all been given these images of false prosperity that are actually draining us more and more and more over time. And so we have to redefine and recontextualize what we mean by thriving, what we mean by prosperity, and what the harvest is that we are truly seeking for ourselves, for our community, and for the world. Right? And we in this community have our Centers for Spiritual Living's global vision, which we read pretty regularly here, which points us to this idea of a world that works for everyone, and we've defined what all that thriving looks like. That's the harvest that we're seeking, right? And for whatever it is in your life, whatever the dream is, whatever it is that you're calling in, you're wanting to experience or wanting to do or be in the world, think of that as the harvest that you want to see out on the other end of the season. So you have to start by planting the appropriate seeds. You know, if you want watermelons, you can't plant carrot seeds. You know, and so you have to look forward. What is it that I'm wanting to be experiencing? Or have or do, and then think backwards. What do you have to do to prepare the soil, to do the composting, to set the mulch down, to dig the holes, to plant the seeds? There's all the work of your life that you have to do, but think about your life as a garden. A garden requires much tending and attention in certain phases and certain times. There's things that have to be pulled away, there's things that have to be brought in. But if you are tending to the garden of your life, and learning how to do it differently, there is a great bounty waiting to be received by all of us, right? But we have to look to our mutual interdependence. We have to look to all of these conversations we've been having this year about shifting our perspective in relationship to our resources, in relationship to the patterns and flows of nature, in relationship to how we engage with each other. We have to shift and pivot and turn our awareness and keep doing it as we go along, because things are always changing. You know, that was one of our ideas we had last month, right? Make friends with change, or whatever that was 2 months ago. And recognizing that we have to be resilient. We have to be willing to flow with the system and pay attention, so that we become people who are truly bringing about true prosperity for ourselves and for our community and for the people around us. You know, and maybe in the practical ways, that might look like us planting fruit trees and growing food around here and mulching and doing all those things. But it also might look like reaching out to someone in a time of need. It also might look like finding new people in your community that can help you learn how to thrive in new ways, or participating in the classes and workshops and activities that we have here that help all of us learn how to shift our perspective, to drop into our spiritual truths, and to change our thinking so that we can shift the world around us. right? Because I want to see this world that works emerge. Yeah. And it can only come through us. Mm-hmm. And each one of us is part of the greater collective. But when we change our minds and we change our behavior and we look for new ways of seeing and doing and being, we create a different sphere of circumstances and influence right around us. And if I can just manage my circle, and you do yours, and you do yours, and yours, and yours, and yours, as we walk in the world, we start to create an overlapping pattern of a new way of doing and being that truly works and leads us all to interdependent and mutual thriving. So we're going to explore this idea of obtaining a yield and being in this beautiful season of harvest all month long, and really going to be going deeper into this question of what does true thriving look like, and how do we keep in our awareness that what we reap comes from what we sow, and that we have to do the work in the middle to keep it clean and to keep it growing so that what we are truly asking for is what we are tending to. So take a deep breath and let it go. Another deep breath in and let go. And so as we breathe together, let us just first and foremost drop into this place of awareness where we remember that we are being breathed by something greater than ourselves. That the universe, that life, that Mother Earth, that nature is living through us, breathing our bodies. That it is truly the particles of the earth that become the particles of our being. There is no separation. There is only one, and we are all part of it. And so as we remember our infinite connection with each other and with life, with the planet, with the universe, with this thing that I call God, let us remember that each one of us is divine, that each one of us is the universe incarnate, that each one of us is life, evolution unfolding right here, right now. And so let us be a people who are seeking to continuously learn how to be on purpose more and more and more. Willing to do the work to untangle the old ways of thinking so that we can weave new ones. To call in this true experience of prosperity and thriving in our lives, in our community, and for our world. Because what I know is that just below the surface of our collective consciousness, something new is waiting to burst forth. Just like those seeds under the ground waiting to pop, like the fruit waiting to emerge from the tree, the world that works is calling us. So let us begin to take one step, one choice, one thought in that direction every opportunity we have. And redefine what it means to thrive and live in true interdependent harmony with all of life and each other. And so I just be in gratitude in this moment for this community of people willing to hold these higher ideals and participate in personal and collective evolution. I am grateful. And so let us just step ever deeper into this process, allowing ourselves to be molded and guided every step of the way to become more and more and more of who we are truly meant to be. And so we let it be, and so it is. Thank you.